It's Tuesday, September 5th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Beal. I hope everyone had a wonderful Labor Day weekend. We have a great show in store for you today. First up, we're going to talk with Barnstable Police Chief Paul McDonald. He'll fill us in on what has been going on with the Barnstable Police Department. After that, we will check in with Planning and Development Director Elizabeth Jenkins. She's going to give us an overview of what Planning and Development does. Finally, we will talk with Assistant DPW Director Rob Steen. He's going to let us know about what DPW does to prepare for hurricane season. But first, let's get a look at today's top headlines. The Massachusetts Department of Transportation has 2 projects starting that you should be aware of. Mass DOT will continue their roadway improvements for the Route 28 intersection improvements at Bursa's Way starting today. The project includes traffic signal and pedestrian improvements, constructing retaining walls and medians, as well as road widening. The work hours will be between 6:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Mass DOT will also begin roadway improvements for the Route 28 at Strawberry Hill Road project. The project will include new drainage, traffic signals, pavement, and pedestrian improvements. The work will be between 7 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. Traffic during both construction operations will be delayed, and motorists are advised to seek alternate routes. Registration begins today for fall recreation programs. The fall brochure can be found at the HYCC or by going online to the Town of Barnstable website. You can sign your kids up for a wide array of programs, including Intro to Fencing, after-school bowling, and flag football. Registration can be done in person or online. Sign up soon as space is limited. The town has completed the 2016 program year of the Community Development Block Grant and is now preparing the Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, also known as CAPER. The draft CAPER will be available for review Tuesday, September 12th on the town website. There will be a public meeting September 13th for review and public comment on the draft. That will be held at 3 p.m. in the Planning and Development Conference Room here at Town Hall. The Marston's Mills Civic Association meets tonight. On the agenda is discussion to finalize Village Day plans, which will be held September 10th from noon to 4 on Main Street in Marston's Mills. The meeting will start at 6 p.m. at the Burgess House. The public is invited and always welcome. Up next, we'll chat with Police Chief Paul McDonald. Raising arm for the police department, and they have a dinner coming up. Can you tell me a little bit about the Bluecoats and what it is that they do?
This is a very important event for us. Tomorrow night is their annual dinner for the Bluecoats of Barnstable. This is an organization that was incorporated June 3rd, 2005. It's a 501c3 nonprofit charitable corporation. And the sole purpose of this group coming together and being formed was for providing financial support to the family of a police officer who has either got killed or has become gravely injured in the line of duty. Their second responsibility is they also provide financial support to the Barnstable Police Department for the purchase of special equipment, training, and other such items that are normally not funded through the department's normal annual budget. And to date, over the last 13 years, they've given to the police department over $380 $20,000, which is remarkable when you think about it. This year, they recently gave us a check for $20,000. $10,000 of that is because we want to increase our canine unit. Right now, we have one dog. We want to put a second dog on, and the Bluecoats have give us $10,000 for purchase of the dog, his kennel, and all supplies that the dog is going to need. We're also in the process of redoing our training room because we want to be a main venue for Southeastern Mass for all law enforcement training. And we bought a bunch of furniture down there, and that's going to cost approximately $18,000. And again, they are going to purchase that also. So it really is an incredible group of individuals. They're probably not going to be appreciated that I'm talking about them because they like to stay under the radar, as you say. But tomorrow is their annual dinner. There's approximately 300 members of the Bluecoats, and that was their original goal, to get to 300 members, and then they're going to shut it off. That would be the end of the membership. So it's an exciting day for them. It's an exciting day for police department, and when you go around to different parts of the state, you're talking to other chiefs in the meetings, and we talk about the Bluecoats. We are the only department that I know of that in the state or in New England that has such a group for the sole purpose of supporting the police department.
That's so great and wonderful that they, support you and help you in purchasing things that you might not necessarily be able to get through, your general budget. Who is it that makes up the Bluecoats? Is it former police officers, or is it just people from the public that are interested in supporting you?
The 5 original incorporators of the Bluecoats, they went through our Citizen Police Academy many, many years ago, and when the academy came to a close, they did not want to lose their affiliation, their attachment to the Barnstable Police Department, so they took it upon themselves. They incorporated the Bluecoats. I do not believe any of them are police officers, and the only requirement it takes to be a Bluecoat is you have to be a taxpayer of the town of Barnstable. Some members do not live in the town, but they own property in the town, so you have to be a taxpayer for the town of Barnstable, and you have to be sponsored by a current member of the Bluecoat. So the membership drive was always to bring aboard 300 residents of the town of Barnstable, taxpayers of the town of Barnstable, and I believe they're just about there. So I'm looking forward to it. So it's a great event.
That's wonderful. And the Citizens Police Academy, I know it's one of the most popular programs that is run through the police department, and it's so great that those people felt such a need to continue to support you guys and help you guys. I know you have a lot of volunteers that come out of the Citizens Academy program.
We have about 60 volunteers that work here at the headquarters, Hyena Station, and the Masters Mill Station. And all the volunteers have come from the Citizen Police Academy, and actually our 30th Academy is starting up in 2 weeks for the 30th session. So it's filled up already. We limit it to 36 participants every time, and it fills up very, very quickly. And it's a great asset for us. It's a great asset for the town, and that's where we get all these members to join the Bluecoats and to volunteer for the PD.
That's so wonderful. I'm so happy that you guys, every year, you hold the Citizens Police Academy, and you have such a wide, so many people are interested in doing it and finding out what it is you do, right, and learning all about everything you guys do, because you guys do such a great job here in the community for the town of Barnstable. I know that we all appreciate it very much.
I appreciate you saying that, but they get to do things they could never do. I mean, probably the biggest night of the Citizen Police Academy is they get to spend 4 hours in a cruiser. They get to pick the time of day, pick a 4-hour block anytime you want, and they get to go out in the cruiser and spend 4 hours in the cruiser with a police officer. It's a very eye-opening experience.
Yeah, and it's something that you couldn't normally
That's right.
do. You get to see firsthand, everything that they deal with. So
that's right.
It's a great program. Thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to chatting with you again next week.
Good talking to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was Chief of Police Paul McDonald. Coming up coming up is Assistant DPW Director Rob Steen, but first we will check in with Planning and Development Director Elizabeth Jenkins. I recently had the chance to sit with her and talk about what it is they do exactly in the Planning and Development Department. Joining me now is Elizabeth Jenkins. She's the Planning and Development Director. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and Sarah, good morning.
Good morning. So we want to kind of go over what exactly Planning and Development is. It's you guys cover a lot of different things. You have 4 different programs that you run, so why don't we start there?
Sure, yeah, so Planning and Development was designed to be an interdisciplinary department that takes advantage of skill sets in a wide range of areas to address some of the Cape's most pressing problems. So, I really appreciate you having this opportunity to come in and just talk about the department in general. I think, as you know, we recently changed our name from the Growth Management Department to the Planning and Development Department, just to kind of give the general public a clearer picture about what our goals are as a department and how we fit in with the larger town structure. So, I mean, really what that is generally is, we work to promote quality of life in all of Barnstable's 7 villages by, promoting a sustainable economic development, housing options, and comprehensive and sustainable land use planning for the long term. And we do that through 4 different departments that we have: our regulatory review division, our comprehensive planning division, our economic development division, and our community development division. So by saying those are divisions, I don't want to make it sound like we're divided, because I think the fundamental part of the Planning and Development Department that makes us effective, not defective, effective, is that we all work together as a team, again, to address these big issues in a multidisciplinary way.
Yeah, and you guys cover a wide variety of things within those 4 divisions.
We do.
As you would say. I mean, like you said, affordable housing, economic development. I know that arts and culture is in there. So
I'll just give you a little rundown. So it kind of starts with comprehensive planning, and that's really setting out the vision for the entire town and then for each individual village within the town of Barnstable. So, what do we want to look like in 20 years? What's important to us as a community? What do we want to what do we want to keep the same, and what do we want to change? So again, kind of setting out that vision and making sure that we as a town are thinking about that when we make all decisions across all departments. So, it's a major part of the responsibility of the Planning and Development Department, and what we do through our comprehensive planning program. So current initiatives such as the Open Space and Recreation Plan, we've been here to talk about that. Ways that, again, we can kind of look at the issues that are important to the residents of the town of Barnstable and get that information out to policymakers. So that's comprehensive planning. Regulatory review deals with the implementation of those goals under the comprehensive plan. So that group works with zoning, site plan review, again, to make sure that kind of our general goals are getting translated into everyday regulation and development going forward.
It's so important.
So important. Economic development, again, clearly a priority for the town, and for making sure that the entire Cape stays sustainable in the long term. Bringing really good opportunities here for residents to be employed, looking at our different sectors, tourism, the blue economy, and making sure those are well developed. So again, Barnstable, can be a great place to live and work.
Right.
So we do that, again, through kind of our traditional economic development strategies, working on addressing those economic sectors, and then through our just fantastic arts and culture program that Melissa Hirsch
so wonderful
puts together. Because sometimes, the place where you live and visit has to be a really fun and engaging place as well, and that's so important to quality of life.
Right. And Cape Cod is so well known for art.
Right.
Whether it's painting or music or dance, it's definitely a huge part of our culture here on Cape Cod, so it's important to foster that arts and culture piece.
We're thrilled that we've always had the support to do that as a municipal organization that's unique, and Melissa has really built a program that's a model statewide, so so that's great to be a part of that. And then finally, our last division is community development, and that does focus around issues of housing, which are so fundamental to our economic development. I mean, those are tied.
If
so
you can't live,
together.
You can't work. If you can't work, you can't live. It's
and
very symbiotic.
Back to the whole interdisciplinary thing is that we're all kind of on each other's teams when it comes to addressing the problems that are in front of us. So we do that through support for affordable housing programs, as well as our federal community development block grant program that we administer as well. So that's kind of our division and our staff. We have a fantastic team.
Yes, you do.
So proud and thankful to be a part of that.
It's nice when you have a great team to work with, because you know that you can effectively get things done. So, big props to the planning and development team.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah. Also, just wanted to briefly touch on you guys. Like you had mentioned, a planning board and zoning board and site plan review. You guys have a couple of boards and committees that you're staff for Lake Barnstable Economic Development Commission, Historical Commission, Housing Committee.
Yeah, we have a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So another big goal of the Planning and Development Department is, again, is public outreach. Understanding what the community is talking about. What they expect from town government. So, public engagement, public outreach is so important to us. And one of the primary ways that we do interface with the public are through these boards, committees, and commissions, both regulatory boards that issue permits, review kind of development going through, and then advisory boards that are working on some of the same issues that we are. So, so through planning board, zoning board, and our 3 different historic commissions, we see a lot of residents in the town of Barnstable. So it's always such a pleasure to be able to work with people through those processes, and we have some fantastic volunteers who staff all those. You
got to have those volunteers, or those boards wouldn't exist.
It's so critical. So please listen to Sarah and your counselors when they say if you want to participate on a board, committee, or commission, because we always, I think we probably have vacancies on at least one on all of our boards, committees, and commissions. So, if you're a resident out there listening that has a particular interest, or you say, hey, this is really want to get involved with this housing thing, like this is important to me or to my business, we can certainly find a place for you. And anybody who wants to be involved with really, making Barnstable a great place to live and affecting change in their community. We'd love to hear from you and talk to you.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Our guest today is Elizabeth Jenkins. She's the Director of Planning and Development. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Take care.
Joining me now on the phone, we have Assistant DPW Director Rob Steen. Rob, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning, Sarah. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Did you have a nice weekend?
I did have a nice weekend. How was yours?
Very good, thank you.
Yes, nice to have a little bit of a long weekend
before
we get really into things. So I know that hurricanes are on everybody's mind right now, especially with Hurricane Harvey that just happened in the Gulf Coast states. What does the DPW department do to prepare for and get ready for the chance that we might have a hurricane here in the town of Barnstable?
So it's interesting you asked that, because we're actively doing a lot of things right now for that very purpose. So first, we monitor. We tend to be diligent. So we've been watching Irma, which is down in the Caribbean now, for probably toward middle of last week. We started monitoring it to see what it's going to do. And frankly, we're still not out of the woods potentially on that one. Looks like it might make landfall Florida first, but there's still chances and still some models that show it, skipping off Florida and coming up the East Coast. So we pay attention to what's going on and make sure we understand what's happening and are not surprised by anything. The other thing we do a lot of is we try to, at least on an annual basis, do a tabletop exercise with our leadership teams here in DPW, principally to make sure everyone sort of understands decisions that might need to be made, scenarios they may face, resource limitations, and it's really a resource limitation issue that they may have to address, and has a chance to, in a safer environment, so to speak, think those things through, so that if we ever do encounter them in a real storm, they've at least encountered the thought process before and have said, well, it may not be exactly the same thing, but one time we thought about it, the way we solved it was this way. My experience is that if you run into a problem that you've at least had a chance to consider before, you're better off than if it's just completely new to you. Other things we do is make sure that we have equipment and, frankly, space available to us to do what we anticipate would be necessary during a storm. So, and what I mean by space is, I don't know if people here remember Hurricane Bob. I was here for that. But there's just a lot of debris, and where does all that debris go, and how do you manage that debris? And how do you manage all those sorts of things? And do we have enough chippers? And do we have enough contracts on hand so that if we needed more chippers, we could get them in, and chainsaw crews and that sort of stuff? Because unlike snow and ice, a hurricane is going to be very much a tree road opening type of event versus plowing kind of event.
Correct, yeah. There's a lot of trees here in the town of Barnstable that, could possibly have limbs and sticks and could completely fall over. So it's a lot to think about. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So and so then we just make sure the crews are organized, and we try to just be prepared as best we can, knowing that it could be, you could get something like Harvey where it's really not a wind issue, it's a water issue, or alternatively something like if Irma survived, it came up the coast as a category 2 or 3, it's more of a wind issue, and those would be very different storms to have to deal with very different outcomes that we'd need to find.
Yeah. speaking of water, and flooding, I know recently this summer we had that flash storm that just kind of it didn't come out of nowhere, but it just hit us, and there was so much water in such a short amount of time. If we did have a hurricane that was, like you said, Harvey, it was more of a water issue than a wind issue, would our drainage here in the town of Barnstable be able to handle that? How are we set up for that kind of flooding problem that could happen?
All right, so to not geek you out too badly with technical stuff, so basically our storm drainage systems, at least the most recent ones that we've been designing and putting in, are set up for a 25-year storm, which means a storm that you should potentially encounter once every 25 years or so. Now, you could get 2 of them in a row. It's a probability thing. So anything greater than that, and they're going to have problems. And the one in July was estimated by some to be greater than a 100-year storm. The one that happened in sort of mid-August time frame, mid to late August time frame, was estimated to be greater than 25-year storms. So the systems that are out there get overwhelmed. If we get something on the order of, Irma's right now, the last forecast I saw this morning had 10 inches of rain associated with it. Particularly if that 10 inches of rain comes over a very short period of time, we will be overwhelmed. Our drainage systems will not be able to handle that. The other thing people have to remember is that those drainage systems are designed to make sure the road stays safe, i.e. get water off the roads, not necessarily to collect all water that falls on the town and have it removed from the town in a palatable way.
Right.
So I guess my counsel would be that, if we have a hurricane coming up the coast that's predicting to get 6, 7, 8 inches of rain, or even 4 inches of rain over a very short period of time, one should expect that the drainage systems are going to have problems. Roads will have flooding, things of that nature. Once the rain stops, it will ease. But I remember, even the one in July, if you went to 28 in Old Stage, that whole intersection was flooded out.
Yeah.
The moment the rain stopped, it went away. But as the rain was coming, the catch basins just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, and people need to have some due diligence and know maybe it's not the best time to be out on the road. You want to wait for the rain to subside and the flooding, so to speak, to kind of dissipate, because you don't want your car to get stuck. You don't want,
Yeah, it's just dangerous. And, if there's anything we could take home, from this conversation, if people take nothing else away from this, whether it be a snowstorm, whether it be a hurricane, whether it be a significant rain event, the best thing you can do for us is not go out to look at it. So many times, I remember Juneau, there was a whole bunch of people out to sort of sightsee during the midst of Juneau, and they were all getting stuck everywhere.
Yeah.
And we were busy trying to get them out and rescue them, or the police were trying to get them out and rescue them, and that prevents us from doing our job, and they're just, frankly, not to sound harsh, but they kind of get in the way.
Yeah, it makes things hard for you. You can't do the work that you need to be out there doing if people are getting stuck or they're just,
out and about.
Out and about. It's best to stay home, stay in, stay safe.
Exactly.
And then, you guys can do your job, the police department can do their job, the fire departments can do their job, and, everyone can stay safe.
Yep, and then we'll get the roads opened up as quickly as we can, and then people can return to normal. But during the actual event and immediately in the aftermath of the actual event, the best thing you can do is just stay off the roads, stay home, stay safe, and let us get at what we need to get at without having to worry about people being in the way of that.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for filling us in on everything you guys are doing to prepare for storms if we do end up being hit by one. I appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Okay, have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Now let's find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar. Sturgis Library is hosting Drop-In Story Hour with Miss Megan every Thursday morning at 11. The program is designed for children ages 2 to 5 and their parents or caregiver. Storytime is geared toward preschool age, but siblings are always welcome. The Bruins Academy Learn to Play Hockey program is coming to the HYCC. The program will be run over 4 Saturdays in October and November and is available to boys and girls ages 4 through 9. For a registration fee of $100, the program includes a full set of CCM equipment, which includes skates, a professional, personalized fitting, and 4 weeks of on-ice instruction led by certified coaches. To learn more and sign up, visit bostonbruins.com/learn-to-play. Now, let's take a look at this week's board, committee, and commission schedule. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow with another great show for you. On tomorrow's show, we'll hear from Senior Services Director Madeline Noonan, and we'll get an update from Finance Director Mark Milne. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Beal.